Our gospel passage today is taken from Luke chapter 15, and it's the wonderful story of the prodigal son. And I'm reading the part where the young son is in dire hunger, and he finally comes to his senses. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Coming to his senses, he thought, "How many of my father's hired workers have more than enough food to eat? But here am I, dying from hunger. I shall get up and go to my father, and I shall say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired workers.' So he got up and went back to his father. And while he was still a long way off, his father caught sight of him and was filled with compassion. He ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. His son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son.' But his father ordered his servants, 'Quickly, bring the finest robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Take the fatted calf and slaughter it. Then let us celebrate with a feast, because this son of mine was dead and has come to life again. He was lost and has been found.'" The Gospel of the Lord. Praise be to you, Lord Jesus Christ. In her autobiography, The Long Loneliness, Dorothy Day shares how she once prayed at a very low time in her life. Now, as you may know, Dorothy Day wasn't raised into the faith, but came to it on her own after a certain romance with atheism. As a young woman in her 20s, she was an intellectual, moving in the Marxist and anti-church circles, convinced that if anyone had the courage to look life square in the eye, she or he would not believe in God. And she had support in that. The love of her life at that time was a man who shared her views. She had moved in with him and bore his child outside of marriage. But the birth of this child, a daughter, changed her in ways she had not foreseen. Holding her infant daughter, she was so overcome with awe and gratitude that she prayed spontaneously, "For so much joy, I need to thank someone." And her faith was born from that. From the purest spring of all, gratitude. Filled with gratitude, she took some instructions, was baptized, and became a Christian. And the father of her child, upset by the change in her, warned that if she had their child baptized, he would leave her. Her daughter was baptized, and he did leave her. So even as she was buoyed up by her newfound faith, she found herself very much alone, a single mother living on her own, lacking money, and without any practical vision of what she should now do with her life. She floundered like this for a while, feeling even lonelier and more unsure of herself. And one day, out of the blue, she couldn't take it anymore. She left her young daughter in the care of a friend and took a train to Washington, D.C., where she spent the entire day praying at the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception. Her prayer that day was one of utter helplessness. In essence, she said to Mary, "I've given up a lot for you, and you haven't done anything for me. I'm lost, I'm alone, I'm unsure of what to do, and running out of energy and patience. I need help. I need it now, not in some distant future. Help me. Help me now. I can't go on like this. When she got back to New York that night and walked up to her apartment, a man was sitting on the steps waiting for her. He told her he had heard about her. He had an idea, and he needed her help. He then explained to her the whole concept of the Catholic worker. The man's name was Peter Maurin, and the rest is history. From that moment on, Dorothy Day had a vision for her life. Christina Crawford, commenting on a low point in her life, said, "Lost is a place too." She's right. And lost is the place from where we are especially invited to pray. When we hurt all over, when we live in a shame that we can't bear, and are on our knees because we're too weak to stand, we're in the perfect posture for prayer. And I believe no one listens to our prayers of helplessness more compassionately than Mary. We address Mary lovingly as our refuge and our hope. She is that place of safety where anyone who is lost in sin and seeking the shelter of mercy, anyone who is tossed by storms on the sea of life and needing an anchor. And first, we remind her that her reputation precedes her, that we hear her called by all the refuge and the hope of sinners. And then we implore her, "Be then my refuge and my hope. Help me. Stretch forth your hand to me in my misery, and hold me like an anchor so that I may not wander off course and lose my way." So remember, lost is a place too. It's always the place where we can find Mary, our refuge and our hope, waiting to show us the way.